Hey, my friends on the front lines of leadership, welcome back to the show. Today I have some really practical and tactical tips to help you shave hours off of the work week every week. I'm going to share 5 simple time-saving tips that anyone can use, so stay tuned. Welcome to the Grace-Filled Leader Podcast. Do you want better work-life balance? Do you get stuck in patterns of perfectionism and people-pleasing? Have you always been an overachiever but never really felt good enough, no matter how much outwork success you achieve? Do you want more time for the things that matter most? Well, you are in the right place. Here on the Grace-Filled Leader Podcast, we focus on spirit-driven success and share the secrets to having better work-life balance as a busy woman in leadership. Here you will learn how to set boundaries like a boss, find peace of mind, and reclaim your time for the things that matter most. Hi, I'm Tanya, a wife, mom, leader, and certified Christian life coach. For most of my life, I tried to find worthiness through achievement. I spent decades people-pleasing and pouring myself into my work. I was looking for my value through the approval of others. This led me to feel burned out, empty, and exhausted. I had no time or energy for myself or my family. I realized that I was wasting time and energy looking for validation in all the wrong places. But my life changed when I finally surrendered and God showed me a different way. It is my mission to help you start living the abundant life God has for you. If you're ready to become fueled by grace and find freedom from people-pleasing, if you're ready to multiply your time and impact as a Christian woman in leadership, this podcast is for you. Roll up your sleeves, sister friends. It's time to get after it. Do you find yourself struggling to get out of work on time or taking work home? Do you wish you knew how to better balance your workload so that you had the time you need to lead your team and still have time and energy left for yourself and your family? Well, it is possible. Now, don't get me wrong. My life is its own version of crazy. I work full-time as a leader in healthcare. I'm the mom of 2 20-somethings. I'm the manager of our household. I'm away from home almost every weekend helping my husband remodel our cabin in Canada. I have a podcast, which you're listening to. I'm a Christian life coach, and I'm a leadership mentor. Yeah, I get a little tired just saying all of that, but the absolute only way that I'm able to do all of these things is that I have discovered systems and processes to organize my time and my tasks. And also, let's be real, my floors do not see a mop as often as they should, but we get by and we don't live in total, complete squalor. I want to focus today on the tips and tricks that I recommend for shoring up your work tasks so that you can be more effective, efficient, and productive. The best part of that is it means getting out the door and having something left over for your family. So, tip number 1, use templates. This applies to many things. In our jobs, we do many things that are not just one-time events. We do things daily, weekly, monthly, and even yearly. And the process or the general content of the work is pretty similar every time we do it. While we may need to tweak things each time we do it, the vast majority of the task is rinse and repeat. Let me give you a few examples of where I use templates. In my written communication is the first place. I've learned the power of the SBAR. S-B-A-R. If you have never heard of SBAR, let me give you a little history. SBAR is actually an acronym for Situation, Background, Assessment, Recommendation. SBAR was first developed by the military, specifically in nuclear submarines. And then it was used in the aviation industry before also becoming widely used in healthcare, which is, of course, where I learned it and use it. It is a format for communicating that allows for more effective communication, whether as a handoff or as a means of getting the answer or solution that you're looking for. I found that using SBAR format better ensures that someone sees or hears the whole message, they better understand the reason for the communication, and they're more likely to give the response that you're looking for. The SBAR format or template has helped me communicate in a more clear and concise way. It's helped me get the things I need from my staff, from my leadership, because I'm painting the picture that they need to be able to make an informed decision regarding a request. It forces me to gather the appropriate background information and make an assessment before making a request or asking for a response. There are many things now at my workplace for which we're required to submit an SBAR document to senior leadership for approval. I have a template, an SBAR template, that reminds me of the things that I have to include in each section of the SBAR, and I save those completed SBARs so that I can use them as templates for future proposals that are similar in nature. When it comes to time to submit a proposal, I just have to make a few tweaks to my template so that the appropriate data is reflective of the new request and send it off. Rather than taking hours to compose and format a new proposal, it takes me sometimes just minutes to update and submit a request. Another place I use templates are specific routine email templates. There are some email communications that I send routinely that don't necessarily fit the SBAR format. I save a sent copy of the email and then I pull that as a template, just updating the recipient and the information or the data that needs to be changed. Again, it saves so much time because you have basically the foundation of the information already typed out. I also use spreadsheet templates. I use spreadsheet templates for tracking productivity, for my annual budgeting process, for staffing and scheduling, for calculating returns on investment. Why recreate the wheel when you repeat these processes over and over with minimal variation other than the data that is input? If you do not know your way around some basic formulas and formatting of Excel or Google Sheets, I suggest you take the time to just watch a few YouTube tutorials. Templates with built-in formulas and formatting will save you years worth of wasted time and mistakes. Okay, so you get the idea. Make and use templates for things you do routinely. Tip number 2, organize your digital files. Or if you're still stuck in paper file days, organize your paper files. But I suggest strongly getting things digital as much as you can. And you want to organize them in a way that makes things logical for you to find. My friend and coach Tracy Holt has the best workshop on organizing digital files. She teaches you how to create a filing system with only 5 primary files and how and what to name subfiles. And you don't have to do what I do or what Tracy does. The key is just to have a system that makes sense to you and allows you to find what you need. Also, every so often, it's good practice to clean up your files and get rid of or archive what you no longer need. That is something that I really need to get better at doing. It's a good practice to do it monthly. Just block some time, even if it's just an hour or a half hour once a month, to do some digital cleanup. Tip number 3. You have heard me say this hundreds of times, but I'm going to say it again. Develop standard processes and write them down. If you find a system that works, document it and do that system the same way every time. Then it becomes something you don't even have to think about, and it becomes something you can pass along to designees or successors. A system or process is just a set of steps that you use to go from start to finish on a project or a task. Let me give you an example of something that happens all the time as a frontline manager. People request time off. Now, most effective leaders will have a standard process that they have their employees use to request time off, and then they have a standard process for approving and planning for that time off. Here's an example from one of my service lines. This is the process that should be able to be completed timely and consistently with every time off request. The staff member sends a message to their manager requesting time off. The manager receives the message. The manager looks at the schedule to see if the threshold is already met for time off approvals. If not, the manager sends a reply message to the employee approving a time off request. If that threshold has already been met, the manager sends a message denying the time off request. Now, if the time off is approved, the manager records the time off on the departmental time off calendar. They identify whether or not alternative coverage will have to be arranged, or if the staff member can be off without coverage. If coverage is needed, the manager arranges coverage and updates the calendar once that coverage has been secured or verified. Now, that sounds like a lot of steps. It kind of is, but it becomes a rote process that is very quick, that you hardly even have to think about if you do it the same way, and it offers consistency to your staff. This is a wash, rinse, and repeat type of process. Repeating the same process with every request allows the process to become more efficient and less wrought with errors. Ideally, it's done all in one sitting or most in one sitting to allow for timeliness and reduce risk for error. Because this is a standard daily task that is very meaningful to the team, I find it easiest to block a small amount of time each day or several times per week to go through this process with all requests that have been submitted. I don't know about your people, but our people take their time off very, very seriously. You have to have a fair, clear, and consistent process for managing it. If you don't, you will hear about it. Tip number 4, block work blocks on your calendar. Make notes in the appointment of what you want to work on, and then reduce distractions as much as possible when you are using your focused work blocks. Close your email and only have open the project work you are focusing on. You will save so much more time dedicating an hour to one project than you will if you try to multitask. Few things will fall apart if you ignore your email for an hour or two while you focus on a particular task or project. If instead you're opening every email, you're looking at every text or instant message, or you take every phone call that comes in, you will probably find that a 1-hour project will take you 4 hours to complete, and potentially with more errors than if you just would have allowed yourself 1 hour to focus solely on that project. Tip number 5, know your most productive window of time and use that for the work that requires the most of your brain. Save routine, rote tasks for times of the day when you don't need to think as hard. If you try to be creative when you're tired, it will take you 3 times as long to create a product than it does that is half as good as if you did the same creative task when you're more fresh. For me, that's in the morning. My brain does not work in a creative zone after about 4 p.m. I'm better off saving routine busy work or spreadsheet work for later parts of the day, and then use my morning hours for the things that require the most focus and creativity. Unfortunately, that's not always under my control, so I do what I can to block slivers of time between meetings where I can do my focused work. And I think it's very, very important to have some kind of task or project management system. Some people might use a notebook, some people use a planner, some people use Microsoft Teams or Trello. I love MeisterTask. Using that project management system has transformed the efficiency of my work. I'm also learning how to use Microsoft Teams in a similar way as I do MeisterTask, because that's the best option of what I'm allowed to use at my day job. For all of my podcast and coaching work, however, I use MeisterTask, and I have that set up much better than I've gotten my Microsoft Teams set up, because I'm just a little bit more used to it. Okay, before I go, let's quickly review my 5 simple tips to shave hours off of your work week. Number 1, use templates. Number 2, organize your digital files. Number 3, develop standard processes and write them down. Number 4, use your electronic or paper calendar to time block work blocks and treat them as important appointments. And finally, number 5, know your most productive window of time and use that for the work that requires the most of your brain. The good old 80-20 rule. And one more ask I have before I sign off is, if you are enjoying the show and think that others may benefit, please take a moment to leave a quick written review of the show on Apple Podcast or your favorite listening app. Reviews are one of the best ways to improve visibility of the podcast. Besides that, it really fuels me to hear what you think of the show. So that's all I have for you today, my friends. Until next time, I pray that the Lord fills you with gratitude, peace, and His amazing grace. I pray this episode blessed you, spoke to you, or encouraged you in some way. If so, please share it with a friend and head on over to Apple Podcasts to leave me a review. That's the only way for me to know if you're enjoying the show. Nothing blesses me more than to hear from you. Also, come on over to our free Facebook community. This is a great place for us to support one another on our faith and leadership journeys. You can find the link to the group in the show notes or go to gracefilledleader.com/community. If you have questions or content ideas for the show, please send me a message on SpeakPipe or via email. Go to gracefilledleader.com/contact and leave a written or voice recorded message. I would love to know how I can best serve you on the podcast. Now to Him who can do immeasurably more than we can ask or imagine, according to His power that is at work within us. Ephesians 3, verse 20. Until next time, my friends, God bless.